In a quiet and peaceful corner of the world, there was a small village surrounded by soft green fields and gentle hills. The air was always fresh and the people lived simple, kind lives. Everyone in the village knew each other and they often shared food, stories, and warm smiles. In this small village lived a young mother named Myra. She was gentle, patient, and full of love. She lived in a tiny house made of wood with a garden where bright yellow flowers grew. Myra had one big dream in her heart. She wanted to start a small shop where she could sell handmade baskets and simple crafts. She hoped that this shop would help her take good care of her little son. But Myra had one big problem. She was very afraid of failure. She had tried to sell her baskets before, but no one bought them. Each time she failed, her heart grew heavier. She began to believe she was not good enough. So her baskets stayed inside her home, gathering dust. While her dream slowly faded, one morning, an old woman from the village visited Myra. She saw the beautiful baskets inside her house and asked, "Why do you hide these lovely things?" Myra looked down and whispered, "I failed before. No one wanted what I made." The old woman smiled softly and said, "My dear, failure is not the end. It is only a part of the journey. Every strong tree grows from a small, struggling seed. You must try again." These warm words touched Myra's heart. She decided to give her dream one more try. She took her baskets to the village market. Her hands were shaking, but she stood tall. At first, people simply walked past. But Myra did not give up. Slowly, one person stopped. Soon, many villagers gathered around her table. They loved her baskets. By the end of the day, she sold every single one. Myra went home with tears of joy. She realized that failure was not something to fear, it was something to learn from. Moral: never fear failure. It is a gentle teacher that helps you grow stronger, wiser, and closer to your dreams. In the same peaceful village, there lived another person who often felt sad and worried. His name was Ryu, a quiet young man who worked as a potter. Every day, he shaped clay with his gentle hands, trying to make strong and beautiful pots. But lately his heart felt heavy. Ryu was worried because many of his pots were breaking. Some cracked while drying, and others fell apart when he tried to paint them. Each time a pot broke, it felt like a little piece of his hope broke too. He tried to smile in front of others, but when he sat alone in his small workshop, he often felt tears in his eyes. "I am not good enough," he whispered to himself. "Maybe I should stop trying." Ryu's workshop was a tiny space behind his house, filled with cool clay, wooden shelves, and the soft smell of earth. It was usually his favorite place, but now it felt quiet and lonely. He watched the sun through the small window and wished he could be brave like other villagers. But fear wrapped around his heart like a tight rope. One afternoon, Myra, the young mother who had finally started selling her baskets, passed by Ryu's workshop. She noticed him sitting quietly, staring at a broken pot. His shoulders were low and his eyes looked tired. She stepped inside and asked gently, "Ryu, why do you look so sad?" Ryu sighed and said in a soft, shaky voice, "Everything I make breaks. I try, but I only see failure. Maybe I am simply not meant to be a potter." Myra sat beside him and placed a comforting hand on his arm. "I understand how you feel," she said kindly. "I was afraid once too. I failed many times. But I learned something important. Failure doesn't mean we should stop. It only means we are still learning." Ryu looked at her with surprised eyes. No one had ever spoken to him with such warmth before. Myra continued, "Your hands are patient. Your heart is gentle. Don't let fear take away your gift. Try once more, and then again. One day you will see your pots shine." Ryu felt a soft warmth in his chest, as if a small flame of hope had returned. He smiled weakly and whispered, Maybe I can try again?" His heart was still nervous, but it was no longer full of fear. The old woman who had once encouraged Myra soon heard about Ryu's sadness. One calm evening, she walked to his workshop with her slow but steady steps. When she entered, she saw Ryu sitting beside a half-broken pot. His eyes filled with worry. She smiled gently and said, "Ryu, may I tell you a small story?" Ryu nodded quietly. The old woman sat on a wooden stool and began speaking in her warm, soft voice. Many years ago, when I was a young girl, I planted a small mango seed behind my house. I watered it every day. But after some time, it did not grow. I felt disappointed. I thought I had done something wrong. She paused and looked at Ryu kindly. One day my father saw me crying. He said, "Child, a seed does not grow in a day. It needs time, sunshine, and many tries from you." So I tried again. I cared for the seed with patience. Weeks passed, and finally a tiny green leaf appeared. Ryu listened closely, his heart slowly calming. The old woman continued, "That little tree is now big and strong. It gives sweet mangoes every summer. But if I had stopped trying, I would never have seen it grow." She leaned forward and touched one of Ryu's pots. "Your work is the same. Your talent is the seed. Your effort is the water. And your failures? They are not the end. They are just part of the growing." Ryu felt something warm in his chest, something soft and hopeful. "So, my child," the old woman said gently, "do not fear the broken pots. Make one more. Then make another. Every try brings you closer to success." Ryu gave a small smile and whispered, "I understand. I will not give up." The next morning, Ryu woke up earlier than usual. The sky was still light pink, and the village was quiet. He stood in his small workshop and looked at the pieces of broken pots on the floor. Normally, this sight made his heart sink. But today, he remembered the old woman's gentle story about the mango seed. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I will try again. I will not stop." Ryu picked up a fresh piece of clay. His hands were still unsure, but he moved slowly and carefully. Instead of thinking, "What if it breaks?" he began to think, "What if it becomes something beautiful?" This small change in his thoughts made his heart feel lighter. When a crack appeared on the clay, he didn't panic like before. He simply smiled a little and said, "It's okay. I can fix it." He pressed the clay gently and shaped it again. For the first time in many days, he felt proud of not giving up. Later, Myra visited him again. She noticed the calm look on his face and said, "You look different today." Ryu nodded softly. "I am trying to think positive. I am trying to learn from each mistake instead of feeling afraid." Myra smiled warmly. "That is the first step toward change." Throughout the day, Ryu made more pots. Some still cracked. Some lost their shape. But he didn't feel defeated. Each time something went wrong, he reminded himself of the mango seed. He believed that with time and patience, he too could grow. By evening, one small pot stood on his shelf round, smooth and unbroken. Ryu's eyes filled with gentle joy. For the first time, he truly felt hope. Weeks passed, and Ryu continued practicing every morning. The villagers often saw him walking to his workshop with a gentle smile and a hopeful heart. He did not rush. He did not fear mistakes. Day by day, his hands grew steadier and his pots grew stronger. Slowly, something wonderful began to happen. One sunny afternoon, the village market prepared for its weekly gathering. People set up their small tables, arranged fruits, handmade crafts, and warm breads. Ryu, with a little nervous excitement, carried a few of his best pots to an empty spot beside Myra's basket stall. His heart beat fast, but he whispered to himself, "I tried. I learned. And that is already something good." At first, people walked by without noticing. But as the sun rose higher, a small girl approached his table. She touched one of the pots and said, "This is pretty. My mother will like it." Her smile was warm and true. Ryu felt a soft joy spread through his chest. Soon more villagers stopped to look. Some admired the pot's smooth shapes. Others praised the gentle colors he had painted by hand. Bit by bit, one pot was sold, then another and another. By the end of the day, Ryu had only one pot left, his very first unbroken one. He held it in his hands and felt tears of happiness in his eyes. He remembered the broken pieces that once made him feel weak. Now, they felt like steps on a path that led him here. Myra walked over with a proud smile. "See," she said softly, "good things come when you do not give up." Ryu nodded, his heart full of hope. "Yes," he whispered. Failure was only the beginning. This is the result. And from that day on, Ryu believed in himself with quiet confidence and a bright new future. Never allow failure to stop your journey. Every mistake is a lesson, every setback is a step forward, and every small try brings you closer to success. With patience, hope, and a kind heart toward yourself, you can grow stronger than you ever imagined. Keep believing, keep trying, and one day your dreams will bloom beautifully, just like a seed that finally finds the sunlight.